All right. Well, welcome everyone to our spotlight about visual arts and the design subject in our middle school. I am really happy you're here today. Thank you for joining us. And want to let you know, my name is Dunya Salari. I'm the Director of Admissions at La Scuola. And I will be recording this meeting for parents who will join us either later or parents who will watch the recording at a later time. We have several slides for you today. We're going to hear from several members of our faculty, and then we'll have Q&A at the end. All right, and I can see actually our head of school, Antina, joined us. Valle, say hi.
Good morning, everyone. Ciao, Dunya. Thank you for the welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. A huge thank you for my faculty and staff for gifting us their very precious time. This event would not be the same without you. Actually, it is our opportunity to show off our incredible and talented team. So thank you so much for being here. Every single one of these events has been unique, and I've learned something new despite being here for so many years. So for that, I'm thankful to them and the admissions team for making sure that parents feel that they are inside La Scuola, even if they cannot be physically inside La Scuola. So looking forward to listening in.
Grazie, Valle. And with that, I'm going to start our presentation and introduce Silvia Bagnacani, our Atelierista and studio teacher.
Buongiorno, grazie Dunya. Buongiorno a tutti. Hi, everybody. I'm Silvia Bagnacani. I'm the K-8 art teacher Atelierista. I'm going to guide you through this overview of the visual art program at La Scuola, and I'll be very happy to answer all your questions at the end. So the visual art program at La Scuola is deeply rooted in the Reggio philosophy. And the first slide that we wanted to introduce to you is about the Atelier in Reggio Emilia. The Atelier in Reggio Emilia is a very special place in the Reggio Emilia approach, and in our school too. It's a very special place where a lot of things happen. But mainly, I'm going to guide you through some of the main elements of the Reggio in the Atelier at La Scuola. So one of the aspects that we really care is the materials. So there's a very, very extensive and extensive variety of materials and great quality. We put a lot of attention on selecting the best and the most interesting materials for our students to work with and learn with. We have an extreme care for the environment that I will tell you a little bit more in a little bit. We also try to have as many creative, innovative mediums. We had a digital atelier, we have a maker's place, we had a tinkering studio. So it's not only visual art, but we're trying to keep it as open as possible based on the philosophy of Reggio, the 100 languages of the child, where the idea is to provide as many possibilities as we can for the students to explore and learn while they're doing some art with us. We can move to the next slide, Dunya, and I can say a little bit about the atelier. So this is a picture of our atelier at Fell, how we used to be. I choose this picture because I think you can see the variety of possibilities that are on display. So these are all work from the students that we carefully display. So there's a lot of attention on the environment in terms of display of the artworks and documentation too. I will say a little bit more about documentation, but also like the environment is really like studied and developed together with architects and designers. La Scuola has always put a lot of attention on working strictly with designers, especially some designers from an architect from Reggio Emilia, like Michele Zini, who worked and designed a lot of Reggio school all over the world. So the environment is really, really important for us, together with the materials, as I said already. So we can move on to the next slide, Dunya. Yeah, here we can see that the environment is not only the atelier, but also the garden, also the classrooms. We really try to take care of every single space we have in the school. You can see the beautiful garden at Fell, that matches the colors and the design of the interiors. So there's a unique vision, and you can feel that by visiting our campus, from the pre-K to the middle school campus. There's a vision behind our choices in terms of colors and furniture and displays. We can move on to the next one. Yeah, this is a picture that is very dear to me. As everybody know, I love flowers. They make me happy every single day of my life. And last year, I remember that, no, not last year. No, this was like 4 years ago. Sally got a bouquet, I remember, from, I don't know, for some celebration. And the students decided to use the flowers that were sitting on Sally's desk for a little bit to start some observational drawings and make some little display. So just these pictures were just there for you to have an idea of the possibilities we gave to the students to work with and play with. We can move on, Dunya. Yeah, these are other examples. Students were working with bamboo to create like little miniatures of bamboo buildings. I did a workshop on that, and I decided to bring my expertise to the school a while ago. But then, you can see there's mixed media, oil pastels combined with watercolors, or, anything that graphically can be used. We have used it at La Scuola, I believe. We can move on. Yeah, this is another picture of some materials that you can use. We can move on. I'm not rushing, but I'll be here for all the questions, but I know there's so much to see, so I just want to make sure everybody's going to have enough time. This is the documentation that I was mentioning before. Making the learning visible is very important for us, and keeping track of the process of learning also. So a big part of the atelier is making sure that we have enough material on the walls at La Scuola for the students to see the learning, but also for parents, but also we also make documentation as we had Google Sites. It's not only the environment that documents the learning process, but we also create paper documentation back in the days, and now we move to some more sustainable forms like the Google Sites and Toddle. Like, we can talk about documentation for hours, so happy to answer more specific question about this later. Okay, this is so another big part of the program, of especially in middle school, but also in elementary school, is to celebrate traditions all around the world. As we all know, we are an international school. They really care about keeping connection with cultures and traditions and celebration all over the world. So these are examples of the celebration of Diwali that we had at La Scuola this year. But also we celebrated the Dias de los Muertos, Lunar New Year, Carnevale. It's a very important part of the program to make sure, and we try to make it like most, the kids here were painting on the cement outside of the school with chalk, and this is a different kind of materials that they learn how to use. Avanti. Magari this is maybe Chiara will be able to say a little bit more about this, but yeah, so maybe we can move on, and I'm not gonna steal any words from Chiara. In my classes, I have a background as a art historian, so and also like we need to connect with art history in our classes, and especially in middle school and elementary school. So this is just like an overview of all the amazing artists that we have been celebrating this year with our students. We had a big connection at the beginning of the year with Frida Kahlo because of the Die Young exhibition. So we always want to make connection with what's going on in the city and with what's going on in museum all over the world. And of course, a big part of the learning was about Black History Month. So we went deep on learning about amazing African-American women in art and men in art. But also we started our celebration of the March of the Women History Month today with Georgia O'Keeffe, which was one of my favorite artists. So, and we're gonna keep doing this, connecting with art history through all the lessons. We can keep going. I guess I have a little, okay. This is a dear project that we, so this is the first of this kind of projects that we had at La Scuola. The students made their own mural and they worked together with an artist, Lea Tummerman. She worked with them online, developing the concept of the mural, but also in person at the Mission campus. The mural was connected with our first unit on muralism as form of activism. So the students had the opportunity to learn about the history behind muralism. We went all over the Mission neighborhood to learn about Mexican muralism and the traces of, there's some amazing murals all over the missions. And the students then had the opportunity to create their own one. So the whole experience was from theory to practice and making connection with the surroundings. And we're doing it in this year too, working with another artist. Since 2012, when I joined the school 9 years ago already, we had our final exhibit, which is a very important event for us that connects with the community. We always had, this is a picture of Joaquin. I think he's now in 3rd grade, but I think here he was probably in kindergarten, because this is a project of the kindergarten at the Museo Italo-Americano. So every year we had this beautiful final exhibition that were showcasing the work of the students from the pre-K all the way to 8th grade. And we had them in beautiful spaces and galleries all over the city. And we also had the opportunity to work with artists from Italy. In this specific case, in this picture, the exhibit was in collaboration with the Museo Italo-Americano, the Italian Cultural Institute, and a couple of artists from Naples that came all the way, Tozoi, they have a difficult name. They came all the way from Naples to work with our students and develop concepts and artworks with them. So it was a beautiful experience. We hope we can have more of these in the future. Now there are more like online Zoom event, but these are other pictures of the students engaged in the event, the opening of the exhibition. It's just a really, really beautiful moment where students have the possibility to see their work valued and talk about it with the community. Yeah, these are just a couple of flyers that we made to promote the exhibit. I think that if you can go back, Dunya, 1 second, the first one on the left is the first one we had in 2012. And the one on the right is the last one we had last year, which was dedicated to Gianni Rodari and was an online event. And when we were able to go to galleries and museums all over the city, we did a lot of field trips. I listed some of the name of the museum that we have connection with, that we visited, and that we did some workshop with. And we hope that, soon we will be able to do this in person again, to just go and see artworks in museums. These are the learning outcomes. I just decided to put part of the, just there for you to have a quick look. These are the IB learning outcomes. As you know, we are an international baccalaureate school. I'll be happy to talk about this more if someone wants to. I also, but knowing and understanding, developing skills, thinking creatively, and responding are the four main criteria of our learning outcomes for the visual art program at La Scuola. And I also add the state standards that are like very similar, written in a different way, but the same concepts. I think I did my part. Okay, in time.
Thank you so much, Sylvia.
Of course.
Okay, Federica.
Hi, everyone. My name is Federica Lintini. I'm the Early Childhood K2 Director at La Scuola, so welcome, everyone. I'm just going to touch and talk a little bit about the pre-K, the preschool, and what does it mean, visual art and digital atelier. So as Sylvia was mentioned, the 100 languages are really a metaphor of the extraordinary potential of children, of cognitive and creative process, of the kind of like multiple forms which life manifests itself and knowledge is built. So to understand better what is the 100 languages is also, we need, materials that actually are available, but also they transform and they multiply and literally in cooperation and interaction between languages, between children and between children and adults. So in this slide in particular, this is a project, is an inquiry that they did into nature. And we are talking about 4 and 5 years old working on this. And so clay is something that we use all the time. Is a natural element, is a natural material. And the way it was presented here was the kind of like a slab of clay. And clay is a material that is soft, is fresh, is generous, and but at the same time is also tenacious and kind of like let himself to be shaped by gestures of the hand and probably the most immediate and the most knowing, and also through using a different kind of tool. Clays also offer a self, what we call the phases of life, from damp to dry, to crush to powder. So they meet with water and come back in some way to life again, and return to its capacity, kind of like of plasticity. So you will see there is like a lot of there is moving. It's actually a material, and Sylvia, you can jump on this anytime that you know better than me, but it's something that it's malleable. It's something that you is returning. You put the water, it's becoming something different, but it's actually kind of like come back at the same state. So it's something that we are using often. Next slide, please, Dunya. And so was another, there is like few example of material here. Can we move to the next slide? Thank you. This is an example of printing. Here is like some exploration of graphic trace with stamp. That actually this is a piece of lettuce and that we use it, and that we actually have a garden in the pre-K, and we use it as a kind of a stamp. And so they explore. There is different tools in this picture. There is different exploration of color, and it's just actually magical to see something that is becoming, alive on the paper that have maybe a different use when it's not used as a part of a painter. Next slide. See, was another project they did in the still in the 3 and 4 years old. This one is an inquiry into trees. So you will see beautiful graphic that the children did about l'albero, that is the tree. There was also an inquiry into nature. So there is a lot of color, a lot of idea how they represent this. And you can also see, sometimes the chosen material is really unique but also limited. Sometimes we don't offer all the color, we don't offer all the pencil. There is maybe like one pencil with few colors, so there is also that piece about interacting in that way with material. Doesn't mean that having access to everything is actually something that could be always good. Next slide. And this is 4 and 5 years old. This is a project about what's under your feet. So they did an entire inquiry about if you're touching some surface and space. What do you imagine? What do you see as a child if I'm touching something with my feet? So you can see there are beautiful drawing looking, imagine what's their feet they would be touching. So different color, different shape, different idea. Next slide. So this is something that is really dear with us, is a digital atelier. And so the digital atelier is a space where digital tools such computers, video projector, webcams, digital microscopes, sometimes graphic tablets, and kind of like more materials, more traditional materials like markers, micro and micro construction are actually putting in the same context. So we have in the same context a piece that is kind of like related more to technology, and the other one that is more, I would say, related to the traditional way of making art. So this interaction is actually a captivating the kind of exploration that will take really the children into kind of a surprise, I would say. So what the children are producing in this kind of atelier is really fascinating. In kind the way they're learning, the way they're like growing. Um, we did beautiful and project about exploration of light, exploration of shadow, how we can storytelling, and we can create story in this space, how we can there is actually a really recently a really beautiful inquiry they did in the 5 years old about telling a story where actually the kids put themselves inside a digital context, and they was like what the digital concept was actually making by their drawing that they were projecting into the wall, and they were actually jumping inside this digital context and making their own story. There is beautiful documentation that we will happy also to share if you want to see more of this. Digital Atelier is really an important space, an important context of learning.
Thank you, Fede.
Thank you.
Much.
Unfortunately, I need to go, but I will be happy if anyone has any question, please reach out. But thank you so much for, being here today. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm never going to look at head of romaine lettuce in the same way again. Really, next time I cut that, I'm like, it's a missed opportunity to do some printing. Okay.
And you can also use with different vegetables. This was
Right.
just one.
Thank you, Fede.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, we're going to hear a little bit about our design subject in the middle years program.
Yeah, thank you, Dunya. Welcome, everyone. Before it's digging deeper into design, I just want to take a moment to kind of connect what we just said until now. As you can see at La Scuola, we really truly believe on the concept of community and continuum. So starting day one in pre-K, our students really get the sense of the atelier, the possibility to use different languages, the possibility to use different materials, experiment with that, really get into their hands-on activities. That we really challenge our students to explore the world around them, and we truly believe on that. And then we move into elementary school, in which with Silvia they did amazing projects. I mean, the Atelier photo was just the great one, with all the projects, all the languages, all the exploration they did related to history, related to art, related to materials, and so on. As Silvia was saying, materials and environment are really important for us. So what happened when students arrive or move into middle school is that we have this amazing program. There are visual art that Silvia does with them. And then there is the design program. The design program is actually based on the concept of design thinking. And this is the first moment in which we explicitly say to them, okay, we have this design cycle. As you can see, it's on the slide here, that is divided in 4 phases. And since it's a cycle, we can start whenever and how many times we want. So normally we start with inquiring and analyzing. So we start from a real problem and a real issue that probably La Scuola is having, or the world around us is exploring, or something like that. Then we move into the phase of developing ideas. That is about, okay, we have to work on this project, on this issue. We analyze the issue. We can now find different kind of solution. And that's the moment in which the students really can use their creativity to go even further and think about anything they want. Then it comes to creating the solution. That is the moment in which they had to evaluate all their previous ideas and get to the point of what is really the best solution. What's the best solution for me? What do I think it would be the best things to do right now? And so they start to create prototypes, they start to use different materials, they start to present their own ideas. And then normally what happens there is that they evaluate the whole process, and they try to, move back and forth depending on the feedback that they get, or depending on their self-reflection, depending on their peer reflection. So it's really like a process that goes on and on and on. The beauty of design and the design cycle is that we can implement and apply it in anything we do. Real life issue, social issue. Normally we have a lot of units that we normally call interdisciplinary units. So it's the moment in which teachers collaborate together on the same on the same topic. So for example, what happened was that last year, Dunya, if you can move to the next slide. Last year, we moved into our mission campus, and we had this amazing backyard, and we had to build the garden. And so we did a great project in collaboration with the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders and the environmental studies teachers. And we spent a lot of lessons to really first understand who is going to use the garden, what's the age of the children, what do we want to have in the garden. And so we started to create some 2D projects, some blueprints. And we were lucky enough that our Michele Zini architect, our Italian architect, was here. And so we were presenting the projects to him. And that lesson was really a powerful tool for all of us, because since he is an expert, he's a professional architect, and we had the possibility to talk to him, he gave us other things to think about. So our blueprints were really just thinking about the space, and he started to provoke us, saying, what about the weather? What about the lights? The lights move around during the season are something that we need to think about. The micro season in San Francisco. And so we really started to, again, thinking about those things. And then we created prototype. So there is here also in design, there is a choice of material that is really important. And the fact that normally students are doing it also in the lower grades is really, really great. And then we move into the final phase that was doing it for real. So we went into the garden, and thanks to the environmental studies teacher, we started to build the basis, and we started to plant all the vegetables that now we have here, and they are growing, and we are very, very proud of it. So that was, for example, an interdisciplinary unit that we had. Dunya, you can move to the next slide. Thank you very much. This year, one important thing for us is also the fact that, yes, we are international, but we also have this, we are proud to be, also an Italian, part of the Italian immersion school. And so during one of my design projects, we decided to explore the Italian design. And so we were really like, what are the Italian designers known all over the place? And so we really were focusing on fashion design, car design, home designers such as Alessi. And then at one point, we had this moment in which the students were very interested in the region. What are the Italian region? Why do they have this name? What is their history? And so we studied the difference about topographic maps, history maps, social maps, and we decided to then recreate the topographic maps with different materials and specific materials that the students selected with me together. So that was really a really powerful exploration, a really powerful learning experience for them. And yeah, that was pretty much it. And then, yeah, and as Silvia was saying just before moving into the Q&A, we also have a great program about technology in which, as you can imagine, Federica introduced it with the digital atelier. We have a digital atelier in pre-K and also in K-8, and it's a place in which students can really start to explore the technology, the language of technology. But it's not only related to coding language, how a computer works, how do I switch it on, and so on. But it's really like, how can I combine the technology that we have here nowadays with what we do, with our exploration, to go even deeper and further on every learning experience that we do at La Scuola. Grazie.
Thank you so much, Chiara. Super interesting. I love all the interconnectedness of the subjects. And I'm just amazed, I mean, it really is, I think we have to keep in mind that the exposure to the richness of materials really leads to increased creativity and just being comfortable in so many different modalities. When you think of innovating, when you think of problem solving, it's something that they've done over many, many years. And I think it's very precious.
Yeah, and I really wanted to add that I think the way that, I mean, both the IB as well, the transdisciplinary learning is obviously at the heart of the IB, but I really think the uniqueness of the Reggio Emilia approach is that it really puts all of these disciplines that in many educational institutions are something on the side, something you add because you are a private school, so obviously you must have an art program. They're actually at the heart of what we do, and they're connected to the other subjects. And I think, both Silvia and Chiara really were conveying that really well. This is connected to the learning. Which makes it so much more meaningful, and also, like, I think the quality of the thinking behind it, the materials, and it's really unique. I mean, like Silvia was saying, I mean, there are ateliers of all kinds. I mean, any place where creative and innovative work happens is an atelier. And I think this is really uniquely Reggio, and and I also liked how, Chiara, you reminded us, this is pre-K through 8. I mean, there is this thread, and Silvia reminds us also of the 100 languages. So I mean, this is unique. I mean, very unique, I think, to La Scuola, and very important to us.
Yeah, I was going to add something about the interdisciplinary approach. Like last year, me and Chiara did a unit together. There was nature, like art and design inspired by nature. And it was beautiful because we had the opportunity to go back in history and see like botanical illustration made in the 1700s by this amazing woman that went to Suriname. But also we went all the way to the Garden of the Bay in Singapore, which is like this incredible, amazing example of how architecture can get inspired by nature to create like incredibly beautiful spaces. And we also got our garden teacher, Aisha, to jump into the conversation around, I don't remember, Chiara, exactly what was Aisha contribution. Oh, the way animals build
Exactly.
houses and shelter for themselves using natural materials. So they are builders and designers too, animals.
Exactly.
So, really beautiful.
Okay, does anyone have any questions? You can put them in the chat or just unmute yourself and go ahead. All right, it looks like we've been pretty comprehensive in our presentations. Thank you again for joining us. It's been really fun to see many of you follow our curriculum. Do you feel like you have a good sense of what La Scuola does? What the learning program is?